Hey guys, as people are coming in, I just want you to hang tight. But if you don't have a notebook and a pen, I would go get that. It's going to be really helpful. This meeting is being recorded. I can't see you, but you can see me. So I just want to let you know that in case you're in your jammies and you don't want anybody to see you, you don't have to worry about that because we can't see you. I'm going to introduce myself in a minute, but if you're just hopping on, make sure you go grab a pen and a paper, and we're going to get started in just a couple minutes, okay? All right, we're going to get started. You have enough people in here that I just want to get started. There might be a chat or Q&A if you're able to see that. I'm also not sure if you can raise your hand, but this isn't really an interactive thing. You're able to just watch this and then rewatch it. All right, so we're going to get started. All right, I'm going to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Nicole. If you've been following me for a while on Instagram, you already kind of know me. You might know my story. You might have just started following me, but who I am, I'm a life coach. I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years, almost 4 years in May. And the thing that I focus on the most is I help people feel better. I always like to explain what I do in this way. It's a little bit like therapy, except for completely different. So if you've ever been in therapy and you're wondering, is life coaching kind of like therapy? The thing that's the same is we do some talking. The thing that's completely different is everything else. So instead of having to be in therapy for years and years, what you get to do is you get to hang out with me for 6 months, completely rewire the way that you think, and that will actually change your life. But we're going to talk more about that later. So the result that I really want you to get from today's meeting, whether you're watching this in replay or you're watching this live, by the way, thank you so much for being here live. This is really fun. I'm feeling a little under the weather today, and so I have lower energy, but it's really good because I can focus only on what's most important and not overwhelm you with a lot of things. But the result that I want you to get from today is, one, I want you to walk away understanding what feelings are, what emotions are. You're going to understand it totally and completely. You're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense. And the other thing I want you to be able to do when we get off of here is know how to feel better, whether you're feeling anxiety a lot or whether you're feeling other emotions. If you're just getting on, there is a Q&A, I think, that you can hit at the bottom. I should be able to see these questions once you type them up. I won't do questions until the end. This is mostly going to be teaching you, and you also will be getting the replay so that you can watch it over and over again. You're going to get different things from it every time. So if you're just hopping on, the results I want you to get are, I want you to know exactly what feelings are. I'm going to use the word feeling and emotion like interchangeably. And I also want you to be in control of them. So if you feel overwhelming emotions all the time and you really don't like it and you want to escape, this is the perfect place for you. So number one, I was thinking this morning, all right, because I'm a coach, I've been a coach for 4 years now. How would I explain this to me like 4 or 5, like maybe 6 years ago? I think of myself when I really liked psychology in college. I loved learning about the brain and how people work, but I really didn't understand myself. And what I love about coaching is that this is your way to figure out what's going on in your life. You don't have to worry about any of the stuff that doesn't apply to you. You only take what works for you. So how we feel, the reason we're talking about feelings today is because how we feel is everything. We think it's about the stuff that's around us. We think it's about the people that are around us, but honestly, our experience of our life, the way that we remember it, is through feelings. It's memories of feelings. And so the way that you feel is extremely important. Not only are our feelings what our memories are made of, but our emotions are also the thing that drives us to create our future. So, as out of control as your life might seem, you actually get to create your future based on how you're feeling. And if you're feeling really confident and excited, like, you do different things than if you're feeling really stressed and anxious. It's just true. You can't hide from it. But the things that you want to do, you might need to have a different feeling to do them. So if you want a different future than your past, if you want it to feel different, if you want it to be a different experience, you're going to have to learn how to create new emotions and process the ones that you already have. This is progress. This is the way that we change. So how you feel is everything. It is everything in your relationships. It's everything when you're trying to reach goals, and it's everything when you're just living everyday life. I want you to be in control of your emotions instead of your emotions being in control of you. I don't want you to ever have to say, oh, I'm just having a bad day. I can't do the things that I want to do. I can't go where I want to go or have conversations I need to have because I'm just having a bad day. I don't want the day to have control over you. I don't want the mood that you were in when you woke up to have control over you. Okay. So, the other thing that I would tell myself if I was talking to my younger past self in a really simple way, I would just tell her, you don't actually have to feel like this. Like, however you're feeling right now, you're feeling really stressed, you're feeling really anxious, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling unfulfilled. You don't actually have to feel like this. And we don't have to change anything in your life for you to feel different. And she would probably be like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I feel based on what's going on around me. Here's the secret. Here's a really fun secret. Your feelings are actually based on the way that you're responding in your head, the thoughts that you're having about your circumstances, about the things that are going on. And if you can learn how to control your thoughts and process your emotions, you're going to start changing the things around you, and you won't have to feel like you have to run away from it. Okay. It's important to process feelings, to learn this process, because kind of like that Snickers commercial, if you've ever seen it, where somebody's like a really grumpy person and they like start barking at their friend. Excuse me. If you're just hopping on, I think I caught a cold from my husband. Thank you, husband. And I haven't been feeling my best, but I could teach this in my sleep, so I'm not really worried about it. And I think it's going to help me to only give you the best of the stuff. But that Snickers commercial, where there's two people and one of them's really grumpy and his friend hands him a Snickers and he says, "You're not you when you're hungry." Well, it actually is totally true. But with feelings, you're not you when you're anxious. You're not you when you're upset. You're not you when you're frustrated. And if your life is just kind of like this series of emotions that like come one after another, and you don't have any control over how you're feeling in that moment, what even is your life? Like if it's this thing that is not in your control, that means you're getting things that you don't want to get. I want you to know it's totally possible to be in control of how you feel at any time. You're not going to feel out of control once you learn how to do this. And I'm going to teach you in less than an hour. In fact, in about 30 minutes from now, you're going to realize how you can handle and control your own emotions. This is not like anger management. It's not anything like that. Which is going to start changing your life. Once you control and handle your own emotions and learn how to process them, everything else changes because you feel like a different person, right? You're not you when you're angry, when you're hungry, when you're frustrated, when you're sad. We want you to just be you, like the very best you that you can be. Okay. So number 2, here's my number 2. Here's my first question to you right now. I want you to pretend that we're just sitting across from each other. I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now? Now, you might not know, or you might be like, I feel like, and then start to give me a whole bunch of thoughts that you're having. Okay. Here's the difference between thoughts and feelings. thoughts happen up here. They're like sentences in our mind. There's something that we could write down. Feelings happen in your body, okay? Which includes your head, but a feeling is just your body's response to what's going on up here. You can't disconnect thoughts and feelings. So anytime that you're having a thought up here, it's going to create a feeling in your body. Here's how I like to describe it to people, because I like little visuals. Kind of like Ratatouille. You have like a little chef up here, except for he's in here. Okay. Little chef in here. He's not a rat. I just imagine he's a little guy. And here's the actual science of it. You actually have all the chemicals that you need to create any emotion at all. Now, what happens in this head is he is putting stuff in the pot, different chemicals in the pot, mixes them all together in this little cocktail, and he sends it from your actual brain down your spinal cord and into your bloodstream, and your bloodstream sends it all throughout your body. So it's in your arms, it's in your legs, it's in your feet. And the way that, like, I can describe this to you, what a feeling is versus a thought is like, think about how you feel, what's going on in your body when you're in front of a lot of people. You might feel like your throat gets a little bit choked up. Even me right now, my subconscious is aware that people are watching me. And so it tightens up my throat a little bit. That's totally fine. It's not a problem. You might feel really sick to your stomach. When you think about like something really sad, or you watch a movie, you might actually feel something in your heart. It might actually feel like it's breaking. These are emotions. Any kind of tightness, tenseness, weight, even lightness, like positive emotions are feelings too, but we usually don't have an issue with positive feelings. And so we don't want to get rid of them. I'm going to teach you how to process those too. It's the same thing as processing negative emotions, but we want to get rid of the negative emotions. And so that's why we're focusing on them today. So when I ask you how you're feeling, I don't want you to go into your head and say, okay, what's going on in my life? I feel like this, and this. I want you to go into your body. And you might have to close your eyes, and you might have to say, okay, what's going on in my body right now? Am I hunched over? Am I kind of like getting really small? Am I feeling really relaxed? How does my heart feel? What is my breathing like? Like, is it really shallow? We're just kind of searching our body for anything that's tense, anything that's tight. And I want you to actually pinpoint one spot, wherever it is. This is our first step in finding the feeling and being able to process it, is we have to find where it went in your body. And so you might have more than one feeling, but I just want you to focus on one. I'm going to focus on the chest right here, because a lot of the feelings that I help people process are in their chest. And if we were to look at your body, we know it's actually responding to something going on in your head, because your chest feels heavy. Now, it's really interesting. How can your chest feel heavy when there's nothing that has been placed on your actual chest? Our body is really just this like internal thing that goes from the inside out. It's responding a lot less to the things outside of us than it is to the things that are inside of us. Okay. So when I'm having thoughts, my body is now creating feelings based on what I'm thinking and not necessarily on what's on the outside of me. So a good example of this is if you're at a party and everybody else knows each other. You guys are all at the same party. You're surrounded by the same balloons, the same cake, the same decorations, but not everybody is feeling the same way, because we're all thinking different things. So the life of the party, the person, maybe it's like their birthday or something, they might be feeling like really light, really fun, like really ecstatic, like they could just move around. And somebody over there in the corner like might be feeling really left out. And it's not because it's somebody's birthday and it's not somebody else's birthday. It's because they're thinking different thoughts. They're thinking, I don't know anybody here. I don't like this. This is really difficult. I don't know how to talk to people. And the life of the party is thinking, it's my birthday. Everybody's here for me. This is so fun. I'm so glad everybody's here. You might not think that your thoughts matter. They matter more than absolutely anything else. Your thoughts create your life by first creating your feelings. Okay, so back to our process. Number one, we find where it is in our body. We're going to process these emotions in real time. If you came with a heavy emotion that you would like to process, practice on it. Okay. You're welcome to also ask questions. I'll make sure that I try to check the questions from time to time. But for now, you're going to get the replay. Do your best to follow along as we're doing it. So find where the emotion went in your body. Put your hand on that part of your body. Okay. It might be in your chest. It might be in your stomach. It might be in your throat. It might even be in your head. There is no wrong place to say that a feeling is, but I want you to put your hand on that place. Okay. This is not is like a yoga, meditation, anything like that. This is like actual science behind emotions. We're just going to get in tune with how our body is feeling. So now I want you to describe that emotion. Now I have an anxiety processing worksheet. I'm going to be emailing that to you. Don't worry. But as soon as you get that, you're going to be able to write these things down. But for now, I just want you to be in the experience of this. Okay. So the thing I have to tell you about your feelings is don't be afraid of them. It's okay that they showed up. They're a part of your life. You've been dealing with them for a long time. We're just going to continue letting them be there. So let's describe what the feeling feels like. So if I was describing, excuse me. Sorry, guys. You're just popping on. I think I'm sick and I just need some extra sleep. So I'm fine though. A lot of my clients will describe that it's in their chest. And if we try to describe, okay, what does it feel like? It feels heavy. It feels kind of tight. It feels like I can't breathe. Okay. Now, instead of just saying, okay, I did it, I'm done. Like that's what it feels like. Let's move on. Here's how we actually get rid of the emotion. We go deeper into it. We're going to go deeper into the feeling. So if it's tight, if it's heavy, I want to make myself feel more tight and more heavy. Now it seems really counterintuitive, but this is the way to get through the feeling, is to get to the intense part, like without having it like stay there forever. Your feelings don't just go away. They stay in your body until you yell them out, sleep them out, sex them out. There's like, your feelings are going to find a way to release themselves. But if you want to control how they get out, this is how you're going to have to process them. So we're going to first notice where it is in our body. We're going to put our hand on that place, wherever it is, and then find what feeling it is, then describe it. We're describing what it feels like. If it's tight, if it's heavy. Okay. Once we've described it and we're really into it, we might want to ask ourselves, okay, what feeling do I think this is? It's okay if it's more than one feeling. When you ask yourself, what feeling is this? It has to be just one word. Okay. It could be multiple one words, but it would be words like anger, or this is fear, or this is anxiety, or this is frustration, or this is hurt. Whatever it is, we need zero judgment. There's no reason to judge yourself for any emotions. God did not mess up when he made your body able to feel any feeling. Okay. So we're going to find the emotion. We're going to name it. Let's just name it anxiety, because in general, a lot of times we don't have words for how we're feeling. We just know it doesn't feel good. And we in society have just kind of named that general feeling of like not liking what's going on as anxiety. So we're going to call it anxiety too. So, okay, I've got anxiety. It's in my chest. It feels heavy, it feels strong. It feels powerful. It feels like it's creeping all over me. Okay. Now this part is really important. We're going to lean into the feeling. And instead of being in our head and talking to it, we're going to be in our body as if we're like holding a crying child. If you've ever held a crying child and you've just like wanted it to stop, like the best way to get it to stop is actually to let it cry. Like, yeah, you're going to shh it and you're going to hold it, but you're not going to make that baby stop crying. So this is exactly what we're doing with our feelings. And in order to do this, you have to understand that you are separate from your emotions. You, the real you, like the soul of you, is not your body. They're connected. They're inseparably connected for now till you die. But I want the soul of you to like offer this feeling like a safe place to be. The biggest reason why we don't feel our feelings, why we don't like process them, is because we tell ourselves we're not supposed to be having that feeling, that there's something wrong with us. Don't feel angry. Don't feel sad. Don't feel disappointed. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, you've probably told yourself that a lot of times. So instead, we're going to allow the feeling and we're going to just kind of hold it. Okay. That's why I put my hand on it. And now, while it's crying, while it's feeling however it's feeling, you just want to offer it some breath and notice what it does in your body, not in your head. Don't be thinking we have to get rid of this. This feels so uncomfortable. It's going to feel uncomfortable and then it's not. So I'm going to breathe into it. I'm going to offer it some breath. Here you go, feeling. You got some oxygen. Here you go, anxiety. I'm going to give you some love. I'm going to offer you some kindness. So here's another analogy that I like to use. So wherever the feeling went in your body, let's imagine it's in like a clear little ball and it's got like, I almost think of like Harry Potter, like that. Oh yeah, it's like the lie detector. Or no, is it the lie? No, it's the little thing that Neville gets when he forgets something and it turns red. It's like red smoke in there. Feelings are like that. Okay. Imagine that that's the feeling. It's purple, it's green, it's whatever color that you think it is. There's no wrong answer. And it's in this little glass ball. What we do with it is most important. What we surround it with is most important. So you could have a feeling of anger and then you could judge yourself for feeling angry. And so you've just now wrapped it in another negative emotion. The best option here if we're having a feeling is to wrap it in a positive emotion. It doesn't necessarily make it go away instantly, but it does offer it a way to escape and it doesn't make it any worse. So if you're having a little bit of anxiety, the way to wrap it in some love, some ideas are being really kind to it, offering it some breath, offering it some time, offering for yourself to lay down, offering yourself to like go to the bathroom and just, okay, this bleeds into the next part. We're now going to have a conversation with this feeling. The reason we have a conversation with it is because it helps you realize this feeling is not me. So if I'm having a conversation with my anxiety, first I want to ask it, why are you feeling anxious? And then I want to go back to listening. Okay. I'm going to let it say whatever it wants to say. It's not a problem for it to have any kind of emotions or your body to have any emotions. And so we don't have to judge it. We could just be like, okay. Yeah, you're feeling anxious because of this, 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 and this. There is a part of you that just wants to feel heard and understood. There's a part of you that does not want to be judged because of how it's feeling. And I just want you to offer yourself a really comfortable place to be a human. It's hard enough to be a human in this world with everybody else judging us and social media telling us what to do and how to feel and what to think. And you should be like this because whatever. I want you to be the person for yourself that's going to offer you a safe place to be the human that you are. And safe meaning there's no judgment. There's no rudeness. There's no unkindness. This is not a webinar on your relationship with yourself, but if you want that one, it's a free course. You can go to my Instagram, Thought Boss Coaching, and click on the link that's in my bio, and it will take you to my 3 free courses. I also have my anxiety course on there. You're going to learn some more from that one, or basically the same things, just told in a different way. So step 1, we're noticing where it is. We're going to put our hand on that place. We're going to describe it. We ask, what feeling is it? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it frustration? Is it sadness? Is it hurt? 3, we allow it. We don't tell it to go away. We allow it. And when we allow it, it's going to get bigger. It's going to spread. It's going to feel more uncomfortable. That's how you know you're on the right track. And when it feels more uncomfortable, I need you to sit with it for just a minute and say, okay, that's okay. It's going to spread to your stomach, to your chest. Offer it some breath. Let it feel. However, you have to stop resisting this idea of feelings. You have to stop resisting the feelings themselves. Sorry, somebody is making a shake out there. I had a family emergency this morning, kind of, and my in-laws could not take my kids. There was a death in the family. It's very sad, but I'm okay. It was kind of a distant death to me, but my kids are home and they usually go with my in-laws on Fridays, but they're here today. So, all right. we're allowing it, we're breathing into it. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And I promise you, if you just let it be big, if you let it feel bad for just a moment, for like 30 seconds until it peaks, then it will start going away. What this is teaching you is that whatever emotion you're feeling in your body, you can handle it. It's never a problem to feel anxiety and stress and fear when you know how to handle anxiety, stress, and fear, when you know how to just sit with it, let it happen, and then move on. Instead, what we do is we make it really hard on ourselves, and we're like, I don't have time to feel anxiety. I don't have time to feel stress. I don't have time to feel sadness. I just have to like shove it all down. Really, it just like wants some attention. And once you feel it, you're kind of like, oh, it doesn't really feel like that anymore. Okay. So those are our 4 steps to processing an emotion. The third thing that I wanted to talk about is the value of doing this all the time. When you know how to process your emotions, you get to know yourself really well. And you get to love yourself. You get to know your triggers. You get to know your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. You get to know like why you do what you do. You get really familiar with yourself. You feel really in control of what's going on in your life instead of feeling like everything's just happening to you. I promise you, no matter what the situation is in your life, you can feel different. You do not have to feel this way. The second thing it does is it allows you to love who you are. It allows you to, once you know who you are and you understand like how your mind works and how your body works, like loving yourself is the next step instead of judging yourself. Because normally what everybody else is doing is we're walking around feeling awful most of the time, some form of awful, and we're hating ourselves for it. We're telling ourselves we're wrong. We're telling ourselves that we're doing things wrong, that we shouldn't feel that way. And we're trying really, really, really hard to do it right. And it's just incredibly difficult. It feels like you're trying to crawl your way to success in whatever form it is, instead of what you could be doing, which is allowing your emotions, allowing your thoughts, and then choosing from a really powerful place and being in control what you want to think and what you want to feel. That's actually what I teach you when you're my client, when we work together one-on-one. So I want to tell you a little bit more about that. And I also, this is a great time for questions. So if you have questions, I want you to write them in the Q&A. I think you can go to the bottom. Questions that you have about anxiety, about stress, about fear, about any emotion, and how to process it. Now, like I said, you're not going to get this all in one go. I want you to go back. I want you to watch the replay, and I want you to fill out the anxiety worksheet, because that's going to walk you through feeling an emotion. Once you get really good at this, once you've done it over and over, and really over and over, I just mean like a handful of times, then you're going to be really good at it. You're going to be good enough that like you might be in the grocery store, you might feel an emotion, and you'll be able to process it instantly. It becomes this like knowing like the back of your hand kind of skill that you have that never goes away. It's incredible. So the results that you get when you do this kind of work, when you learn how to process your feelings and change your thoughts, by the way, please add your questions to the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer them, okay, about feelings and emotions. The result is, instead of just letting life happen to you, you actually get what you want. You change your relationships, you create new things, you reach goals that you have never reached before. Essentially, now you're in charge of writing the story for your life instead of having it just kind of happen to you. I always wondered how people created lives for themselves. I feel like I didn't really know. Like I just thought, okay, life's just going to kind of happen to me. It's my job to respond to it and like figure it out, but I don't really know how to do that. And once I found coaching, which namely there's so many different kinds of coaching, but the kind of coaching that I do is very mental. It's all about our thoughts and like 30% about our feelings, but my company's name is Thought Boss Coaching. When you are in control of the things that you're thinking, I can't remember what kind of coaching that's called, but it's not meditative. It's not yoga. It's not spiritual coaching. It's just like very scientific and very, very powerful. When I finally learned about that, I was like, oh, that's how I changed my life. That's how I do what I want to do, is I get in control of what's going on in here and in my body. I didn't even realize my thoughts were important before. And I didn't even realize what I was thinking. So the importance of having eyes on your thoughts, like you can't compare that to anything else. The next best thing is to have a journal, and then to go back through your journal with different eyes and be like, oh, that's what I was thinking. Oh, I see that thought popping up a lot, because your actual words, the words that you say in your head, they create things for you. They create relationships for you. They create experiences for you. And you actually get to choose those words. You don't have to just decide, well, this is just the way that it is. This is the way my parents thought. This is the way society thinks. So I'm a human. Of course, that's what I think. You're actually allowed to think whatever you want. Literally, you could put whatever words in your head that you want. A client asked this a little bit ago. I can't remember when it was, but it was really funny. She was like, well, am I like not just deluding myself? Like if I just get to think whatever I want, aren't I like deluding myself? And I was like, you're already deluding yourself. You think that you're telling yourself the truth when you're like observing yourself, you're observing your life, your house. No, you have this negativity bias. You only, because you have a human brain, me too, we only look for the bad things. And so for somebody to be able to come in and tell us, oh, notice how you always have this thought about like your workout routine. Now you're like, your thought is that you're like not fit and you're not capable and you're not strong. Like notice what happens when you're thinking that. For somebody to be able to tell you that changes everything. Okay. So what else is going to say? Yeah, you get to create new things. You get to reach goals that you've never reached before. I'm going to tell you the process for how this actually works, like in real life. Okay. One second. I've got a question. I'm going to answer the question really quick. Okay. How do you process fear of abandonment based on relationships I have now or ones of the past? Okay. So here's the thing that you actually have to do. Thank you so much for that question. The feeling here, there's two feelings here. There's fear and there's abandoned. So first, what you have to do is you have to go process abandoned, what it feels like to feel the feeling of abandoned in your body. This one's going to be intense. The first time that I went and processed a really heavy emotion, it was one I'd never actually processed before. It was when I was first learning of this. And I sat down on my bed and I was thinking, I also felt abandoned. I was in foster care as a kid when I was 7, and I was adopted when I was 11. And I definitely carried that feeling of abandoned. And so when I went to process this feeling, you're going to go through the same process. You're going to find where it is in your body. It's going to feel really intense, and you're going to sit with it. It's going to feel like the biggest relief when you actually have felt it. You're probably going to like cry a lot. It's going to feel really, really painful in your heart and in your chest. And maybe it's going to be totally different for you, but you've got to sit with this feeling of abandoned. Okay. So in this question, we also have thoughts. Okay. You got to figure out what are the thoughts that I believe about myself that feel really, really true surrounding this situation. If it's based on relationships you have now or ones in the past, what are all your beliefs about you, about other people? And then once we've processed this feeling, we've got to realize the thoughts that created it aren't actually true. So for instance, if I was processing my feeling of abandoned, the thought that probably created it and continues to create it is this belief that like, I'm not worth taking care of, or like I'm not important to someone. That belief feels really, really terrible. It's directly connected to the feeling of abandoned. But I would have to write that down. What are all the actual words that I'm thinking about myself that cause this feeling of abandon? And then, do I want to continue to believe this thought that I'm not worth taking care of? Number one, I don't even want to ask if it's true. There's no way to actually know the truth of like, the worth of somebody's soul. It's like a God question. You could answer it if you wanted to, but only if it was going to serve you. And so I would just decide, I just don't ever want to think that again. I never have to believe that I'm not worth taking care of or that I'm not important to someone. And this is just kind of a process, because you'll notice yourself always coming back to that belief, because beliefs are kind of like these pathways that we carve in our brain, like an actual, think of like a literal path. You walk down a path in the forest one time and like you can see footprints. The next time you go down that path, there's more and more footprints until it really gets carved out. This is every time we think a thought. Okay. So if you were, quote, abandoned at some point, I'm just going to use my own experience. Every time my brain would think like, why was I abandoned? Why did they leave me? It would come up with the same thought that it came up with in the beginning, because your brain likes to take the path of least resistance. It doesn't like to think new thoughts. So you're having new relationships, but you're not having new thoughts. You're taking the old thoughts about yourself and about people and bringing it into your new relationship, because your brain's just like, these are just the thoughts that we have about relationships. Let's just reuse them because that's what's easiest. Okay. It requires the least amount of energy to rethink thoughts. So just because we've been rethinking them, like people aren't trustworthy, I can't trust people, there's something wrong with me, just because we've been thinking them doesn't mean that they're true. It just means we've got a habit of having those thoughts. And so you're going to notice yourself coming up with these thoughts over and over again. You're going to have to stop yourself. This is why it's really helpful to hire a life coach, because I'll be able to tell you every single time that a thought is coming up or one of those old beliefs. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's right. It's that belief. And the less and less energy we give that thought, and the more energy we give another thought, like I want to believe, or I trust that I'm important to some people, I'm important to me, or there's nothing wrong with me, you start to walk a new path every time your brain wants to go down this one. And the more that you walk this one, the less and less abandonment will feel like a big problem in your life. The feeling of abandonment. Okay. It's not a problem for people to leave you. It's only a problem to feel abandoned when they do. People leave people all the time. It just happens. Sometimes people come into your life for a certain amount of time and then they leave. There's very few people in my life that have like stuck around for a very long time. But what if that was normal? What if that wasn't a problem? What if it didn't actually mean anything about me? What if it was just kind of like the way that the world works? Like maybe there's a couple people that I've known like all of my life, but most people, they last for like a year or 2 or 5 or 10 sometimes. But like sometimes our lives just change and we change. And so we have different people in our lives. Just because I'm not friends with somebody that I was friends with in high school doesn't mean I abandoned her, right? So abandoned is a feeling, but it's also a thought, and it's a really intense thought. Like I've been abandoned. What if we could change that to a really neutral thought? Like people have just left, and like maybe they were supposed to leave. Maybe it didn't actually mean anything about me. Does that make sense? I would love to coach you on this. If you want to talk more about it, just come and message me on Instagram. I'll talk a little bit more about this. Or if you'd like to, you can for sure work with me one-on-one. I'll jump to that real quick and just tell you guys, the way that you work with me is you have to set up a free consultation. And that's when we make sure that we're a good fit. We both want to know what we're getting into, what kind of things. I want to make sure that I can help you, that it's things that I've worked on before, things that are in my wheelhouse. If it isn't a good fit, then I have so many people who are in my network that I can refer you to. So anyway, you have to set up a consultation. That's on Instagram at the link in my bio, or you'll be getting an email with the link if you want to do that. I love that question. Does anybody else have want to ask a question? Okay. I'm just going to leave that Q&A up, and I'm going to go to talked about the value, talked about the result. Number 4. Oh, the process. Here's what the process is like when you're working with a life coach, specifically me as a life coach. We talk each week. You get to process your feelings and change things in real time. The really huge difference between this and therapy is that instead of you sitting and just talking, and the therapist being like, I think you feel abandoned, and having like their own opinion on stuff, you are the one in charge. This is so important because I'm not placing myself above you. I'm teaching you the skill of seeing your own thoughts and processing your own feelings so that you don't need me after a few months. You can do this on your own. At first, it's really helpful because I'm going to point out to you, here's the beliefs that I'm seeing come up a lot. Do you want to keep these ones or do you not? I'm never going to judge you. I'm never going to tell you my opinion. I'm always going to let you choose. Do I want to keep this or not? It's possible that this, what do you think? And so it's really empowering to go with a life coach instead of a therapist if you want to move forward. If you are like, there's so much stuff in my past that I want to get through, but I don't know how. The best way to get through it is to move on into your future. We don't actually have to go into your past. If you're like, I don't really feel like going to a therapist and rehashing absolutely everything because it doesn't seem to help, it just kind of makes it worse when I just talk and talk and talk about it. If you're ready to move forward, we're not going to ignore what's in the past. We're going to process the feelings and we're going to change the beliefs that keep your past so around you, like that are bringing the past into the current situation right now. So life coaching is all about moving forward and really empowering you to be able to process these things without having to rely on somebody else. This is why I love it so much. So really this like problem solution thing, the solution that you need is that you need to know how to change your thoughts and feelings. If you know how to do that, you're for sure you're going to change your life. You're going to change your relationships. But we talk about it every single week for 6 months straight, because that's what it takes to really get the ball rolling and figure these things out. 6 months is absolutely nothing when you compare it to therapy times, years and years and years spent in therapy. I'm not saying therapy isn't great. Maybe it has been great for you. But also maybe you're ready to try something else. And this is a really great alternative. You're going to find out pretty quick that it works really well for you. The problem that we're trying to solve here is that you don't have control over your life, whether it's your emotions, your thoughts, your relationships. I want to put that power in your hands to be able to change your life. Okay. If you want to do that, if you want to create this solution, I want you to go sign up for a free consultation. I would love to talk to you one-on-one. We coach one-on-one. I only take 20 clients at a time. So when spots open up in the program, you want to make sure that you've got a consultation in so that we're able to get you started as quickly as possible. I've got another question I'm going to answer. How do I know if sexual assault as a child has an effect on my marriage? I believe that it does dictate certain aspects of affection. Okay, so here's how we would know. We would talk about the current situation with your marriage, and it might be intimacy. It might be just like trusting somebody. And we would go into a really specific situation. And maybe the specific situation is like my husband, wife, like tries to be intimate with me. And like, I don't feel like being intimate. And so I would ask, all right, well, what do they say? And what do you say? What do they do? And what do you do? And then we would notice, we would get really, really detailed about what's going on in your head when you're next to them. And so I'm just making this up totally. But let's say like your husband, if you're a woman and your husband comes up and he like puts his arm around you or he pulls you close or something, I would ask, okay, what are you noticing happening in your body when you're in that situation? We would find the feeling. And then what we would do instead of processing it in that moment is we would ask, what did the feeling come from? Like, why are you feeling that way? Ask the feeling, why are you feeling that way? Maybe it would say something like, I don't feel safe. And then we would just really logically talk through that. Okay, why don't you feel safe? I don't feel safe because like, well, I don't know, I'm just not feeling safe. And then I would say, okay, so this is one part of you. One part of you is not feeling safe. I want you to know that it's perfectly valid for that one part of you not to feel safe. But I also want to ask the other part of you, the part of you that married this person, excuse me, the part of you that is like wise and amazing and kind of like this almost like higher self, right? But it's just like the most loving, like most progressed version of you. If we could ask her, are you safe right now? We would Like she would probably say yes. And so we've got two battling beliefs right here. We've always got two battling beliefs. There's always a positive and a negative. We believe both of them a lot of times. Part of me really believes I'm not safe, and the other part of me believes, wait a second, I actually do believe that I'm safe. But what happens when we have two battling beliefs is that the one that has the more intense emotion always wins. And so if the intense emotion is fear, we don't even think that we believe anything else, like that I actually am safe. We're only focused on I'm not safe, I'm not safe. So what we would do is we would practice reminding yourself, like feeling safe when we're thinking about this situation, about being intimate with our spouse. We would practice feeling safe in your body. The more that you practice it, the more that you teach your body, oh, I can feel safe when I actually am safe. We would help you feel safe. And then you'd practice it with that spouse. And at the same time, you're for sure going to be working on being really kind to yourself when you're working through this, making sure that you're not gaslighting yourself, making sure that you're listening when part of you doesn't feel safe and you're addressing that. And it just kind of be this whole thing. In answer to your question, how do I know if sexual assault as a child has an effect on my marriage? Let's just say it does. Like for sure it does. And that's not a problem. I don't say this lightly, because I want you guys to know I'm taking like your problems and your feelings really seriously. And if I was just your friend, I would like answer this. I wouldn't answer this question. I would just sit with you. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. This is awful. I'm so sorry that you feel this way. And I would just give you a hug, but the hug doesn't solve the problem. Okay. We want to solve the problem. And so as your coach, it's my job not to make the story worse for you. It's my job not to accentuate all the really negative feelings that you have, but to be very neutral about them. I don't take this lightly. I have been sexually abused. I have been otherwise abused, emotionally, I guess. I have been, quote, abandoned. I was in foster care. I was adopted. I have really complicated relationships with these people. But I have solved so many of these things. And a lot of things from my past have come up. A lot of beliefs that I used to believe about myself have come up. And I promise you, it is possible for you to feel different about yourself and about other people and feel really fulfilled and really safe in any kind of relationship, especially in the relationship with yourself where you just feel good being you. Okay. So I'm not trying to take this lightly. I have all the sympathy and compassion in the world. And also, you do not have to feel like this anymore. All right. We're going to end in about 5 minutes. So if anybody else has any other questions, I want you to leave them in the Q&A. I'm going to answer a couple questions that come up most often. So number one, how to work with me is you have to set up a consultation. It'll be at the link in my bio on Instagram. And also you'll be getting an email with that link. When you do that, we talk for about an hour and a half. We're going to take a great inventory of your life. We're going to figure out what's already going on in it. And I'm going to tell you, here's exactly how we're going to solve it. And you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I can totally do that. Like there's so much hope for my life. None of it has to stay the same. Literally, the thing that you think you can't change, you absolutely can. And this is how. It's incredible. All right. So any last questions? Any thoughts? Got my Q&A here. Those were two really amazing questions. I'm so grateful you guys asked those questions. I'll give you about 5 more seconds if anybody has any questions. All right, you will be receiving an email that is linking to this recording. I'm so grateful you guys came live. That was really fun. And I also am going to send you guys a link to my other anxiety course, my anxiety worksheet, so that you can fill it out and process your emotions and make sure that that gets solved. This is a really in-depth process that I went over in like 30 minutes. So if you have more questions about it, just ask those questions. I'll be happy to answer them on Instagram and email. But if you're like, this sounds like what I've been looking for, 100% go sign up for a free consultation and we will figure out what's going on in your life. We'll make sure that we can solve it and we will get you started. So it was so nice to be on here with you. I hope you guys loved this. Again, I'm Nicole from Thought Boss Coaching. You can follow me on Instagram at Thought Boss Coaching. And I love you all. Thanks for being here. We'll see you later.